My name is Aaron Blaisdell. I'm a professor, for those of you who don't know me, I'm a professor of psychology and behavioral neuroscience at UCLA. I'm going to give some brief opening remarks to kind of kick this whole shindig off this morning. And what I want to do is I want to start by saying just a brief history of how AHS came to be and where we've come since we started. So back in 2009, I met Brent Pottinger, who couldn't be here to this one event this year. I guess getting a medical degree is kind of busy. But he was an aspiring medical student to be, and I was an associate professor at UCLA, and we got to know each other through the paleo and ancestral health movement that during those early years, the late 2008, 2009 period. And we attended an event at UCLA that was about physiology and new directions for physiology. And we were sitting there watching each talk, and at the conclusion of each talk was interesting because they were discussing latest research on physiology and human health and disease that all had implications for evolutionary mismatch, right? Which is the kernel idea from the paleo movement, is that there's an evolutionary mismatch that is a source of many of our common afflictions, illnesses, chronic disease in our modern society. And so we're sitting there with that knowledge and seeing at the conclusion of every talk, and now we have an idea of another target for a pharmaceutical intervention or pharmacological intervention, right, to be developed. And that's the status quo in academic and medical science. And we were thinking, man, if we just had a symposium of our own, where at the end of each slide is like, and here's what you can do to take matters into your own hand and take control of your own life. Not that everything's going to be rosy, but as a first line of trying to do something to help yourself. We thought that would be great. And that was the genesis of the idea of the Ancestral Health Symposium. So we had our first symposium at UCLA in 2011. And so here we are 5 years later. We've had one every year except a little glitch prevented us from having it last year, which was supposed to be here, right? But due to some scheduling things that were out of our control, we weren't able to do that. But so we delayed it to this year. But we are back and bolder than ever. I can't take credit for that one. And thanks. And so what I want to say is that really what ancestral health is about is this idea of evolutionary mismatch and how we can look at our own lifestyle, our own modern life, how we feel, how we think, how we raise our kids, how we get food from and transport food, grow food, everything, every facet of our society, how we build social relationships, and look at that through the lens of evolutionary mismatch with what do our bodies expect based on how they've been adapted by natural selection. And that's not like a single easy answer. There's going to be at multiple scales and levels of analysis, there'll be different answers. But that's the point, is to start looking at our health from that perspective, to bring evolutionary medicine into our own lives and into the practice and hopefully into the academic and science practicing model as well. And that was the other idea about starting AHS, was there was lots of talk in the blogosphere back then. All these ideas were floating around. But at the time, they were being shunned pretty much by the academic community. I had hit a lot of roadblocks talking to my colleagues about these ideas, and a lot of it was considered woo-woo, or it's just, what's the point? And so we met a lot of resistance at the time, and I think that I wanted to start this conference and the society as a way to bring academics in and show them and have them talk about their research, but also see that there's a genuine interest out there in people wanting to address their own health issues through an understanding of evolutionary mismatch. And it looks like that the symposium's grown every year. I mean, we were off to a little bit of a troubling start early on with some of the contentious issues that we had, like the notorious carb wars. But I think, every child that's born goes through some stumbling blocks as they're developing. And I think we're past the toddler stage even by this point. And I think that as you see the growth in the depth of the talks, the breadth of the topics that were present at this conference this year, it's just stunning. And it's just going to continue to grow as we continue to expand and view all aspects of the human condition, the world condition, through this idea of evolutionary mismatch and the human effect on the world. So with that in mind, that's the spirit that I want to start this conference today. So I want to welcome you all here to AHS16. Okay, that was the rah-rah stuff. And in a moment, I'm going to hand it over to Amanda Oakley to talk a little bit about some of the logistics. And then after that, we're going to kick off pretty much immediately with a little bit of a preview of all the posters. So if you're in the room, stay in the room because we're going to keep rolling with that. But before we get to the poster previews, should go over some basics about how the conference is going to run, what to expect. And what I'll tell you, Amanda's going to fill you in on other aspects of this, but the thing I should say is that the way the talks are going to run, there are 2 rooms for the talks, this room, and this is west, and then the east room, which is just a few doors down. And there's going to, for those of you who are giving talks, there's going to be somebody sitting over here in front of you who's going to have a sign or a series of signs. And you have a 40-minute slot. All the talks this year are the same length. They're a 40-minute time slot, 30 minutes for your talk, and the last 10 minutes for Q&A. So what they're going to do is they're going to start timing you from the time you start speaking, and then at 25 minutes in, when you have 5 minutes left for the talk part, they're going to flash a sign that says 5 minutes. When you have 1 minute left into that 30 minutes, they'll show a 1-minute sign. And when your time is up for the 30-minute part, they'll show you a sign that says stop. That doesn't mean you have to stop. That means if you want to now bring your talk to a conclusion so you have nice 10 minutes to interact with the audience, I've got to Q&A, and we have microphones set up in the middle of the room for that, we can do that. If you are on a roll and you're like, forget it, I'm just going to eat into my Q&A time, finishing up what I'm going to talk about, that's your decision. As a speaker, you can do that. But what we're going to do is when you're now because it's a 40-minute talk, you've got to stop at the 30-minute point. Once it's 35 minutes and you really only have 5 minutes left till you have to leave the stage, we're going to again do the 5-minute. And then when you're 39 minutes into the 40-minute talk, we're going to do the 1 minute. And when it's 40 minutes, we're going to say stop, and the chair's going to get up and escort you off the stage. And in the kindest possible manner. No big hooks, don't worry. But we know sometimes you get on a roll, and it's hard to think about the time maintenance. So we're there to help you with that. So I just wanted to make that announcement now to kind of explain how it is, so even the audience members understand what we're doing up here, and that everybody's being treated fairly in the same way, to make sure that all the other talks speakers get their chance to give a full presentation. Okay? And with that, I will hand it over to Amanda.
Okay, hi everyone. Welcome. We're really excited with a really, really jam-packed schedule this year. Can everyone hear me in the back? Yeah. So I'm here with the non-rah-rah stuff, just the quick housekeeping. So as Aaron mentioned, we have talks happening in both rooms at the same time. So you don't need to worry if you're unable to make it to one room or the other, if there are 2 things happening at the same time. Everything's being recorded by our AV team and will be posted on YouTube, possibly even the same day that the talks are happening, but definitely within a couple of days. So you can take your time with our exhibitors or with friends or at lunch. AHS is as much about meeting people and building communities, so if you choose not to attend the talks, you can always catch them on YouTube after. So our poster presentations and book signings and exhibitors will all be taking place in the central ballroom, so please go and visit them. The posters and book signings will be on Friday and Saturday. Movement sessions will be happening as well during the breaks, so you can meet outside, just outside of registration for those. What else? Oh, we have a completely digital schedule this year, so you may have realized that we're not handing out anything at registration. We do have the link at registration, so you can sign up for an account on the SCED website and get updates and a daily schedule sent to you if you choose. We did have one change already. Unfortunately, Dr. Mark Barhana was not able to make it for his talk, so you will notice that there is a gap in the schedule for his talk. There is Wi-Fi here, so UCB guest is our Wi-Fi. There's no log on, you just click to join the network. There are fountains outside and bathrooms as well, and a cafe downstairs for anyone who wants to go down and get coffee and tea. And any questions, you can find us at registration. Volunteers are wearing green shirts, so come and find us with anything. We're happy to help. And please put your phones on vibrate. So I'll hand it back to Aaron, and thanks a lot for joining us.
Thank you, Amanda. Very good. Are people ready? Yeah? No, I didn't hear it. Are people ready? Come on. Okay, that's my cue. All right. So what we're going to do now is we're going to have our little poster blitz. So what I would like is for all the people who are giving posters to actually come along this wall over here and line up in alphabetical order, please. That's why you have the name tags.
First name or last name?
Okay. And what we're going to do is we're going to load up your slide, because you have one slide, and you have a minute to talk about what you're going to talk about. All right. Nice. Look at this. It's just like an elementary school. Each of you is going to get a gold star. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just, you'll see your slide come up. We're going to forward it. And when you see your slide come up, just come up here, introduce yourself, and then give a 1 minute, it's a little synopsis of what you're going to talk about to get us all jazzed about it, okay? So should we kick it off?
Yep.
Good.
Morning, everybody. Come on. Yeah. Okay, my name's Peter Ballerstedt. I'm a forage agronomist, ruminant nutritionist. I am here as an advocate for ruminant agriculture, ruminants rule. I'm recruiting for the Ruminati, so anybody's interested. And we have come to question some of the conventional wisdom we've been given regarding diet and all of that. But I urge people to explore how we got those dietary guidelines, because the aliens didn't deliver them into a vacuum. They were a product of their time. There's a worldview involved. There's a narrative involved. And if we don't deconstruct that, we may carry some of that forward to the detriment of what we're trying to accomplish here. And so what I want to say is it's all about people. And anything that gets in the way of human flourishing, I think we should question seriously. So with that, ruminants rule. Thank you.
This is like academic speed dating here. Good morning, my name is Derek Barber. Thanks to AHS for inviting me to present. The name of my poster is Gene Wars and Social Systems. I know a lot of us are wondering how a spectacle like this could come to pass. I was curious about how, and it seems to be that there's a lot of evidence that there's a lot of ancestral mechanisms at play here, and that's what my poster explores. My poster is a research review exploring the meta-theory that modern socio-political institutions are intellectual outgrowths of ancestral psychologies, and that these behavioral patterns are formed by evolutionary tribal strategies. I weave the idea from the micro to the macro, starting with epigenetics and neurophysiology, onto social ecology and psychology, ending with historical case studies. I use the heuristics of RK selection in life history and moral foundations theories. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Anthony Basili. Unfortunately, I don't have a joke planned, so sorry about that. I have a master's degree in human nutrition. I'm also a dietetic technician. During grad school, I took a class on evolutionary medicine, and my undergrad is in dietetics. And I kind of got the idea of what does the field of nutrition and dietetics actually think about evolution and evolutionary medicine. So my colleagues and I developed a survey, and we sent it out to all the dietetic education programs and then a couple of contacts that we got through the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. It was completed by roughly 800 dietetic students, about 1,200 dietetic professionals, and we had two main objectives to determine mainly if evolution and theory of evolution is covered within dietetic education programs, so are students actually learning this material, and then also if the professionals and the students think that an understanding of evolution can aid the field of nutrition and dietetics. I'll be presenting it tomorrow, so see you all then. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Todd Becker. I write this blog, gettingstronger.org. I've been participating in AHS since 2012, talking on various topics. And I'm the hormesis guy. The byline of my blog is train yourself to thrive on stress. And when I say that, people look at me weird. Why do you want to stress yourself out? I take cold showers every day. I like to swim in the ocean. I eat 1, maybe 2 meals a day. I like to stress myself out. But the question is, why do that? And Aaron talked about evolutionary mismatch. A lot of paleo is about avoiding things, avoiding gluten, avoiding toxins. I'm about exposing yourself to things and the benefits from that. And I think we actually suffer from not enough of the right kinds of stresses. So come to the poster session, find out about the biochemistry and the mechanisms that explain how hormesis works. And I'm also giving a talk tomorrow on why people who live in Boulder and in the mountains actually get a beneficial form of stress. And it's a very interesting story. So we'll see you at the talk and at the poster session.
Hello, my name is Landra, and I am a PhD student at the University of Washington, where I work in a synthetic biology lab. I've heard synthetic biology not so affectionately called genetic engineering on steroids, but in my poster, I'm going to talk about what are GMOs, how are they made, some of the safety and concerns I've heard people have, some of the recent controversy over labeling, how GMOs are particularly presented in the media and how that can trigger some of the psychology of GMO opposition, and then my particular area of expertise, which is genetic engineering beyond agriculture, and how it can be applied to medically and industrially relevant problems, and also biologically relevant problems.
Hi, I'm Jenny Callahan with Eat the Butter, which is a nonprofit I started. I'm really interested in outreach, particularly to mainstream Americans, especially moms who are putting groceries in the cart every day, putting dinner on the table every night. I try to take ancestral messages about healthy eating and kind of maybe dumb them down a little bit, but also just simplify them and give a back to basics message to moms. I'm also interested in using our cities as a possible place where we can get some leverage and get some momentum going. The quagmire we see with dietary policy in Washington, D.C. is formidable. Could we make something happen in our local communities? Cities are where the future happens first. Maybe you could make something happen in your city. I have lots of materials that we could talk about this with, and it would only take one. If we can get something going somewhere, I promise you there'll be lots of interested national press, and it could really make a difference in reaching lots of mothers with our messages about changing the way we eat. Thanks.
Hello, my name is Dr. Jeff Gerber, and I'm a local family doctor. This was a very easy conference to attend. So I'm going to talk about the primary drivers of heart disease and explain why traditional cardiovascular risk assessment based on Framingham methodology misses the mark. We're going to talk about the true root causes, including metabolic disease and hormonal dysregulation, and how to properly take action. And lastly, we're going to look at modern day methods that properly address risk. And these include the 5-hour insulin assay and the heart calcium scan. And hopefully, at the end of my presentation, you'll understand why we call this the muddy waters of Framingham. Now also, as you can see, I'm a member of a group called Physicians for Ancestral Health. And we're an international organization of physicians devoted to ancestral principles and also lifestyle medicine. Now, we have a great conference every year in January. We call it a educational retreat. This year it's going to be happening in Coconut Grove, near Miami, and all of our members are invited. Now, we actually have some members here. Could you guys raise your hand? So hopefully you'll get a chance to meet everybody. But membership is presently open to physicians, and we have also invited physician extenders as guests. So if you're interested in hearing more about the organization, we're going to have a get-together at lunch today in the West, I think here, and you're all invited. Thank you.
It's very tall. Hello, my name's Lynn Gillespie. I'm an organic farmer and an extreme introvert. So the guy with the stress, I am stressed, okay? We got that covered. I wrote a little bit down because I'm more comfortable in my garden than in front of you guys. So we'll just go through this and then I'll scurry out the back of the room, okay? But you guys can come see me at my poster. I'll be friendly. Okay. So our ancestors had a definite advantage over us when it came to nutritious food. There was no chemical companies, no depleted soil, or industrial-like food substances. Our ancestors typically ate over 200 different species of plants and animals every year. How many species can we find in our stores today? Our ancestors ate fresh food picked minutes before consuming, and our food travels thousands of miles for weeks and sits in warehouses. Today, life is different. We don't have time to wild harvest the majority of our food. Most food is grown on depleted soils and freshness is rare. So where do we find nutritious food? The best solution to getting nutrient-dense, organic, mineralized food is to grow it ourselves. When we have control over our food source, we can have all the variety, freshness, and nutrient density that we desire for only pennies a day, making nutrient density available to everyone. Now I know what you might be thinking. Gardening's too hard. I have tried it and failed, and I don't have enough time. But this is where a new modern gardening system comes in. So my mission is to help the ancestral community to upgrade their gardens to an easy system that works for today's busy person. You've upgraded your phones and your computers. Now it's time to upgrade your garden. So our high-performance garden is 128 square feet. That's about the size of 3 king-size beds. And we grew over 740 pounds of food worth over $2,500 in only a 15-minute-a-day commitment. So turn off Facebook, go outside. So that's enough savings that a family could buy an entire beef. So not only are you providing the vegetables, but now you can bring the meats into the story. So if you're ready to see the ancestral community take control of their nutrients and help families to save thousands of dollars on the grocery bill, it's time for us to upgrade our gardens to a high-performance garden. Thank you. The paper is shaking.
In his book, Being Mortal, how many people have read it? Great. Atul Gawande describes dinner at a senior retirement home or a nursing home. I don't remember what it was, but what he pointed out was the excitement that evening wasn't what was going to be on the menu, but it was who was going to choke first and who was going to rush to their aid and how many people would choke and how slowly you had to talk to people while they were eating. I'm a family physician. I've had an integrative medical practice for 25 years, and both I and my patients are aging. A lot of what we face in a medical setting can be addressed with incorporating ancestral lifestyles, but I would suggest that they are necessary but not sufficient when it comes to aging. There are at least 3 physiological changes that make it difficult for a person over a certain age, and everybody's different, to move their food from their tongue to their throat. One of them is, how many were at Ancestral Health 2 years ago and heard Jamie Scott talk about sarcopenia? Did you know you can get sarcopenia of your tongue? So there are a lot of tweaks to do in the ancestral lifestyle for older people to avoid putting them on unnecessary medications. See you Saturday afternoon. Bye.
Hi there, I'm Jonah Larkin, and I practice acupuncture and functional medicine in San Francisco. And I'm also a corporate trainer. And what I found working with hundreds of patients over the years is that most people feel like to be healthy, they have to follow a bunch of rules. And this just adds another thing to the to-do list for people. And so I started to ask, how can we reimagine the story in a new way? And how can we reimagine it in a way that really creates vitality for people, creates ownership rather than just another thing on the to-do list? And so this led myself and my collaborator, Jeffrey Szilagyi, to create a model of health based on ancestral health. And we also developed an assessment. It's a bit like the Myers-Briggs of holistic health. And so far, we've been using it both in clinical practice as well as with our corporate clients. We've ran about 500 people through it so far. And the results are very interesting. And the people who've taken it and gone through our training feel like they really have a much deeper understanding of who they are. So I encourage you to come by. I'm looking for collaborators. I'm giving away a limited number of assessments to all you wonderful people. I would love the feedback, and I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow afternoon. Thank you.
So I'll be presenting my poster on Saturday on the results of a pilot study. Because it was a pilot study, the main outcome is feasibility. What I had people do was follow the paleo diet for 4 weeks and a Dutch consensus diet for another 4 weeks in a crossover fashion. So half of them started with the paleo diet, the other half started with the conventional diet. Feasibility was the main outcome, but I think the most interesting outcome to me at least, and I think to most of you as well, is pictured in those two graphs. It's physical symptoms and psychological symptoms. And what you can see in the graph, the blue line is the group that started with the paleo diet, and they show a drop in physical as well as psychological symptoms after following the paleo diet for 4 weeks. But no further drop or even a slight increase in symptoms when they switched to the conventional diet. In the other group that started with the conventional diet, they didn't show a real drop at first, but when they switched to the paleo diet, they did show a real drop. I guess no one is really surprised about this, or no one here at least. So these results gave me 2 future projects. I'm planning to start recruitment for a citizen science project that looks very similar to this one. So in the normal population, focusing on physical and psychological symptoms. And I'm doing a pilot study with outpatients who are treated for a clinical depression and see what the paleo diet can do for them. So if you want to know more about the results of this pilot study or about my future plans, please visit my poster on Saturday.
Hi, everybody. My name is David Palmer. I guess I should update my bio a little bit. It's a little out of date. I'm actually now in Boston. I'm a nurse practitioner student. So if you guys are in the Bay State, let's meet up. Let's party. But with so little time, it's really hard to kind of cover what I saw in the literature review. But basically, there's a subset of the population, individuals that have the homozygous minor version of the ApoA2 gene. And what seems to happen in these individuals is that they respond differently to saturated fat in the diet than the rest of the population. In many studies across different populations, pretty much all over the world, there was many different samples. They were able to determine that the people that reported a higher intake of saturated fat had a higher BMI, different measures of adiposity depending on the method used. And in one study actually had higher serum ghrelin. So The interesting thing is this is only individuals who are CC, homozygous CC, and only the individuals who reported a high saturated fat intake. Those with at least one copy of the T allele did not show a significant relationship between their reported saturated fat intake and measures of adiposity, depending on the study. So there has been one intervention study to this point that's not all that exciting. But there is definitely, I'd say, a critical mass of observational studies that say it's time to experiment and understand how these individuals with the CC variant would respond best to modifications of their diet to have better body composition.
Hello, everyone. So my poster presentation deals with the advantage of being a carnivorous plant and how accepting different vectors as your food source will bring in some viruses and bacteria, and how we can see 5 different events in evolution that have transformed these plants to be able to produce endogenous substances to fight viruses and bacteria. So if you are interested in traditional medicine, botanical medicine, or evolutionary science, you should come check out my presentation.
Yeah, I received an email this morning from Rachel Suppak, and she will be unable to make the, she's unable to make it right now, but she will be available to be by her poster, which is the interaction between the gut microbiome and mood disorders, so I'll be able to check that out.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Welch, and I started studying the human body in 2010, practicing massage therapy in a clinical setting. And I have a question for you. Raise your hand if you're wearing gloves today. Nobody? Okay. All right. Raise your hand if you're not wearing shoes today. Cool. Okay. So I've also been a full-time barefooter, weather permitting, in Boston, wherever David went, for the last 3 years. And Shoes Are Not Paleo is about recognizing that way that our brains and our feet cooperate to manage our biomechanical energy expenditure, which was a key strategy to our evolutionary success. Brains alone consume 20% of our daily energy, and we only came to be able to afford them, being so expensive, when we became top-level endurance running predators. Before tools or cooking or any other technology, we evolved to move more efficiently and discharge heat better while running than any quadruped, mercilessly pursuing our prey until they collapsed from heat stroke or exhaustion. Running is a quintessential human activity, but efficiency when running requires super tight coordination of this awkward bag of bones, keeping our energy, our momentum, moving forward only. So here's the key. Mechanoreceptors on the plantar surface evolved to sense how much energy we're wasting against gravity by the level of impact force we create with each step. By taking away this feedback, the brain assumes that we're already moving efficiently, and it never bothers spending energy on core muscles, coordination, or postural alignment. As a result, our joints suffer, we age poorly, and we get injured doing basic activities like walking and running. These are not the inevitabilities of aging, and what's worse, we're seeing them in teens and young adults, I do in my practice all the time, way before all these other mismatched diseases like cancer and diabetes and heart disease. So it's time that we recognize that we have cut ourselves off from our body's innate intelligence system in this way and started addressing the problems at their root. So I'll see you on Saturday, and in the meantime, try taking off your shoes.
Hi everyone, my name is Michaela, and I am a nutritionist and research associate at AUT University, which is in Auckland, New Zealand. I'm in Dunedin, New Zealand. I'm also part of the exec team for the Ancestral Health Society of New Zealand, and we had our first international symposium last year in October in Queenstown. So if you think that Boulder is an amazing city, as I do, honestly, Queenstown, I would say is even more amazing. So just keep your eyes out for our advertising of our conference for October next year. Anyway, I, alongside my colleagues at AUT University and the Defence Force, particularly the Navy, we looked at a diet intervention to help improve the health outcomes of our Defence Force, who are not exempt from
basically what the rest of society are kind of suffering with chronic disease, etc. And obviously, the poster kind of outlines what we found when we provided a whole food diet intervention compared to conventional nutrition. So come talk to me when, I'm pretty sure it's Saturday that I'm showing my poster, because of course it's not necessarily just the diet that we put them on. It's I think there were some interesting challenges with regards to the dietitians in the Navy and their response to what we did and how it's kind of playing out in translation, or how it's translating into what they're doing on a couple of the bases. So yeah, thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Karen Zinn and I'm a New Zealand registered dietitian and a senior lecturer at AUT University, Auckland, New Zealand, long way from home. So our group at our research centre, we're a group of academics and nutrition practitioners, and we've just finished a feasibility trial, so a 12-week study, which we did on children aged between 8 and 13. It was a whole food approach with a lower carbohydrate, higher fat paradigm, so LCHF, low carb, healthy fat. And what we did was we looked at some of efficacy outcomes such as body composition and some blood markers, lipid outcomes and glycemic markers. But the main purpose of the study was to look at key feasibility aspects. So we looked at the acceptability of the diet itself, the types of foods that they ate. We looked at affordability of eating in such a way for the whole family. We looked at recruitment issues and the ease with which we could recruit kids onto a low-carb kid study in our mainstream world in New Zealand. And we also looked at dropout rate. So we found some really good outcomes for those who went through the study for the 12 weeks. If you want to know what they are, please come and visit and have a chat on Saturday afternoon. Thank you.
That's it. That's it. I just wanted to say briefly, it was, I'm sorry. Slide? There's no slide for it? I'm sorry, you just go up and say
I'll just explain it. All right, so I had a poster up there, and it was basically... So I had a poster up there, but I guess it got lost in the mix. It was of a deep squat. And my name is George. I'm a chiropractor, mover, strength coach. I've worked with elite athletes as well as people with severe low back pain. And what I would like to share with you is my passion around the deep squat as a key ingredient in everyday life to prevent low back pain, joint pain, and everyday aches. So whether you're on the beach, whether you're picking up your child from the floor, whatever it is, the idea is that if you're able to get into the deep squat, you have a good functioning core, your muscles and joints are very compliant, and you have very good coordination, meaning that if you're making a nice squat soup, the salt, the pepper, you have the proper ingredients to make a beautiful squat, which at the end of the day will help you with communication. So core, compliance, coordination will facilitate communication, which ironically was our ancestrals' resting position. And ironically as well, they had decreased low back degenerative disc disease. So come chat with me and come move with me during my movement session. Cheers.